dare to care, because if you care about what's happening around you, it doesn't matter whether you're in Africa or you're in Europe or the US. If you care enough, you will find a way to make a difference and to contribute in a meaningful way.
Today on the podcast, I'm joined by Liz Agbor-Tabi, a powerhouse strategist and global connector. She is Vice President of Global Policy at Global Citizen, where she leads bold initiatives like Move Africa and is imagining how live entertainment, tourism, and advocacy can transform the continent. Liz's career has spanned public, private, and philanthropic sectors, from global health and education to culture and policy. She's always landed where there's a challenge that needs a problem solver. She's also a mom who proudly calls her kids cubs, a wife, a lover of fashion, gardening, and champagne, and someone who embodies living fully. Liz, welcome to the show. I'm so excited.
Thank you, Deanne. I'm super excited to be on the show. There are people, there's sort of three kinds of people, right? There are people who do amazing things. They are really passionate about what they do and love talking about it. There are people who do amazing things and don't like talking about it. And I guess there's there's people who are in the middle ground who sometimes talk about it. As I've gotten older, I definitely have become more on the I don't talk about the stuff that I do camp. So I don't do a lot of these interviews and podcasts, and it's been a while since I did one. I'm super pumped to join you today just to have a chat about life and what's been happening in my life and in the world. So thank you for bringing me out of my shell.
Thank you so much. I love following you. We've become friends over the years, and I just think you have such a great story. You also do so much. Probably why you don't talk about it, because it's like, where do you start? I think you're in the business of doing. You're just going and going and going. So first of all, thank you for even making the time for this. I know your calendar is busy. So thank you so much. I don't even know where to start, honestly, because there's so many things. We have to talk about the champagne, but I think we'll toast to that last. Let's start with the jobs, with the day jobs. Um, when I was doing my research and I was looking at your career, you've done so many things, right? So when you look back, what do you think is the thread that ties it all together?
It's not until maybe a decade ago that I finally came to the realization that I'm actually great at a lot of things.
Yes, love that for you and for us who get to benefit.
That I'm great at a lot of things, and more so that it's okay to be multidimensional.
Yes.
I think for me, starting off in my career, I had a very creative, artistic brain. And then I also had very much a strategic, analytical brain. Growing up in an African family, you're kind of encouraged to seek certain professional goals, right? And so in my family, my parents had it all set out that we'd be a doctor, an engineer, probably a pharmacist, and something else. And so
Typical African family, doctors, lawyers.
totally, totally. Yeah, there's gonna be a lawyer in there as well. I was well on my way on that path and did lots of great stuff in healthcare and public health, and then went off to do policy work. At the core, I always wanted to use my skills, my talents to leave the world better than what I'd met and to ensure that my legacy would be felt across the world. I've always had very much a global perspective and certainly a love and affinity and a passion for Africa. I'm West African and unapologetically so. Everything that I've done has been to prepare me to go back to Africa to contribute in a meaningful way in lifting up communities in Africa and to do good in the world.
Mhm. For sure. You've not only worked in Africa, you currently live in the US, you've worked in Asia, across Africa. What would you say is at least
Latin
part of
America,
Latin
Latin
America?
world,
Yeah, where in Latin America were you?
Bangladesh, and India,
And then
yes.
where in Latin America?
Brazil, Peru. and in the Caribbean as well.
I mean, that's amazing because you look quite young to
I
have
do, right? It's my skincare routine. We should
we
talk
have to
about
get to that because I need help. What would you say is a lesson that you've learned from living in these diverse countries that holds true everywhere? That, we're all more similar than we are different, I would assume. What lesson would you pull from that?
it's dare to care,
Mm,
right? Because if you care about what's happening around you, it doesn't matter whether you're in Africa or you're in Europe or the US. If you care enough, you will find a way to make a difference and to contribute in a meaningful way. I would also say, and I know this is a kind of a cliche, but just get shit done. Focus on getting shit done and and do it with fear, with trepidation, but
still do it.
just do it. And that's I think that's sort of been the mantra for me. People often say, "Gosh, you've lived 9 lives like a cat," right?
Yeah.
Because I've done
Ongoing.
so many things
Yeah.
across multiple sectors, across multiple geographies, but it's really because I've always been audacious enough to just wanna get shit done, agnostic of the sector, the geography, the organization.
Yeah. So you've had so many pivots in your career, right? From health to now.
Those are pivots. It's very interesting. I challenge the notion that it's really been about pivoting. I don't see my trajectory as a linear progression, right? If you think of it as a linear progression, then there's pivots,
Yeah.
right? I think of it more as circularity.
Mhm.
And I think as opportunities, as you are met with opportunities and you are prepared for those opportunities, you harness those opportunities. I know there's been a lot of talk about pivoting. Pivots for
Maybe
me,
from like COVID, everybody feels like they have to
yeah,
pivot to something. Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
And it's almost like you pivot and you refresh, you
Yeah.
restart, right? And I don't really see my trajectory, at least in that way, because I feel there are many skills I've amassed over the course of my experience that I continue to leverage in new and unique ways, right? So there are things that no longer work in healthcare delivery currently, right? But I'm working on issues that are inextricably tied to healthcare. And because of the experiences that I had in healthcare delivery, I'm able to make more informed decisions and be much more strategic in the things I pursue. So, yeah, I'm not a fan of pivoting. I'm also not a fan of balance, which we can talk about as well.
The other podcast which I love, Emma Grede, her Aspire podcast, she talks a lot about not believing in balance, but in integration, right? And I think when I watch you, especially on social media, I feel like you do that so well. One story will be about cooking for your family, another story is about you're out with your girlfriends, another story is about grinding on Global Citizen and preparing for whatever fabulous thing you're doing there. So I already know you don't do balance. It's integration.
Yeah,
I mean, no, yeah.
it's for me, it's really agility. It's about agility and being able to move in all of the different spaces I need to be in and do that with ease. And of course, I often say it's not something I take for granted. I would not be as agile if I didn't have the support networks that I have. As a married woman, I mean, there are many women who are agile and doing it solo. I'm incredibly thankful that I have a support system that enables me to be agile, starting with my husband, my family, and with my community. Because I wouldn't be able to do the things I do without my support system.
Yeah, I've had the pleasure of witnessing you with your husband. It's so cute. So cute. And it's
You're
so
like,
nice to see
you're
a
like, get
strong
in here.
woman be, just in that safe, vulnerable space. It's really so adorable to watch.
Thank,
Um,
thank you.
so I understand that, life is not linear, especially our careers, but your career path led
Yes.
you to Global Citizen, right? Which has Move Africa. So we have to get into that. I think the first time we met, maybe it was when I was living in Ghana, and I went to the Global Citizen
So,
2022
yes,
with Usher, which was amazing. And it
wasn't
was, oh my God, it was, first of all, he's amazing. But I think what amused me was all my Ghanaian friends saying, "This is the best concert we've ever had." You know, there was a concert like 2 weeks before. I,
I know.
and they're like, but, and I was like, so I kept probing why, okay, besides the artist, what makes this so special? And they said it's just flawless. It's seamless. The parking was easy. Like it's really things like that that deter some of us in our older age. It's like, where's the parking? Where are the washrooms? Where are the, all of these things. And it was just really flawless, like getting the tickets, getting the parking, getting to your seat, it started on time. It ended fairly, at a decent hour. People could go put their kids to bed. You didn't have to struggle to get a drink, to get some food. The sound was amazing. So when you think of putting together a production the size of Global Citizen or Move Africa, I know we're going to get into the tourism aspect of it, but the quality of production, first of all, how long does that even take you to do? Do you just start building the next one the next year?
Well, for that Ghana event, I don't know if you knew this, but I actually moved my whole family to Ghana for several months and lived in Accra. Put my son in summer camp.
Oh my
And
gosh.
my son was in summer camp, which he loved. My husband came in and out, and my daughter at the time was only, I think, 7 or 8 months old. And I'd literally just
Wow.
returned. I just returned to work from maternity leave and then moved to Ghana.
That is dedication. And that is a support system. You rerouted your whole family.
Yeah, my mom came. One of my aunts came from Cameroon to hang out with my mom. And then we had the nanny. Basically, when I talk about a whole support system, I had to lean into that for that. And so, I moved there for several months. I was with another colleague who also had two young children, and he brought his children. His wife came over as well. And we were just boots on the ground, getting stuff done. With everything of this nature in Africa, it's really important that you have whites of the eyes conversations and that you engage stakeholders at the grassroots level, as well as senior executives, governments, private sector executives, etc. It took us several months to bring all of that together, but what I really love about that experience was the ability to demonstrate that delivery at this level of excellence is possible in Africa by Africans, driven by Africans, for Africans, right? And so that was what was really exciting about that. And every time I would walk down the street in Accra, people who had seen me on television or in the media somewhere were like, "Oh my goodness, global citizen, global citizen." And they would say, "Bring global citizen back, bring global citizen back. We've never had anything like this." And I would always say, we worked with our international crew, obviously, and we paired our international crew with local crew. And so there was a skills exchange and job sharing with local crew. And so what you saw delivered was delivered in, partnership with local crew. And for me, it just demonstrated that we can do this. We can do this at this level of excellence. Let's continue to do this. And also, for the consumers, for the audience members, it raised the level of expectations. It raised the
For
bar.
sure. I went to
It
two
raised
more
the bar.
concerts while
Absolutely.
living in Ghana, and everybody kept talking about comparing it to Global Citizen. Uh,
Right.
and I'm so happy that you mentioned that it was also in partnership with local crew because I think there's definitely an assumption that you import everything and that's why
Yeah.
it's so fantastic. And then you go, and then the next concert, we're just hanging.
No, and it's so a lot of the work that we've been doing with Move Africa from 2022, Global Citizen went on to launch Move Africa, which we launched in your hometown in Kigali in 2020, December 2023. Yeah, in December 2023, we launched Move Africa, and it was built on this whole premise that while live entertainment remains such an untapped opportunity in Africa, and delivering live entertainment that is at a global standard of excellence is such an opportunity. We have so many young people who are really leaning into the creative sector.
Mhm.
Uh, this is an opportunity to create jobs for those young people. It's also an opportunity to drive touring across the continent. So there really isn't a viable touring circuit across the continent, right?
I think
However,
talent. And that's where artists, musicians especially, make their money, right?
exactly,
It's from the touring, but if we don't have the
infrastructure.
facilities, the
Sometimes we
infrastructure,
don't have facilities, we don't have the equipment, the gear, we don't have the technical know-how, the human capacity to deliver touring at that level of excellence that's globally recognized. And so we launched Move Africa to solve that exact challenge. We thought we could leverage a burgeoning youth population and the rich cultural heritage across Africa. We could lean into that and build the continent's first live music touring circuit. And that's what we've been working on for the past couple of years. We we had the inaugural Move Africa in Rwanda in 23, and then earlier this year, we had the second edition in Lagos and Kigali. Next year, we'll have 3 cities, and the goal is to get to 5 cities, so the tour will go across 5 cities.
how do you choose the cities? Is it in partnership with the governments? Is it they have the necessary infrastructure? What's the strategy there?
So we're trying to drive investment into the sector, right? We're looking primarily at arenas mainly. As you know, there aren't that many arenas in sub-Saharan Africa. If you were only to go to where there is existing infrastructure, you wouldn't, I mean, there's 3 or 4 cities, which I won't name, but those would be the only cities you'd be in. So what we're trying to do is drive investment into the sector. We look at a whole host of indicators. We look at where there is a vibrant live music culture, right? And there's acceptance of live music. We look at markets where we have support from the private sector and the government sector, from the public sector. We look also at markets where there is some infrastructure and there is gear and there is some human capacity that we can then work to scale. And so there's a whole host of factors that go into how we choose cities. And then, of course, we have to be invited into the cities, right? So that's really important and have willing partners on the ground.
You were mentioning that, there need to be arenas at least, or the promise of the investment of. It reminds me of the project that Masai Ujiri is doing, which is also how we came up with BK Arena in Kigali. And I know he wants to go beyond Rwanda as well. I really love and I don't want to say it's sudden because I think it has been a scale up of investment into sports and culture and entertainment. And I love that it all goes together because the BK Arena, where I think maybe it was the last time I saw you for Move Africa this year, when John Legend came to Rwanda, is a sports basketball arena, right? And I love the fact that there's now a lens and an acceptance because, as you know, Rwanda is traditionally a very conservative market, but I love Gen Z. Gen Z have just like blown it wide open. And I remember telling my parents, oh, I want to go into modeling, I want to go into singing. Meanwhile, I can't sing a tune. But when you're young, you have so many dreams. And they were like, absolutely not. You're gonna be a lawyer or a doctor, just like you were saying. And now I have little cousins who are doing all of those things and then some. Definitely Gen Z. And I think timing is everything.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. So when I mentioned earlier that for me, it's the acceptance that multidimensionality is okay. Like it's okay to be excellent at so many things. Like, when I was younger, I struggled with that. I thought, well, if I only pursued X, I wouldn't be taken seriously in the eyes of my family, my community, the public, right? And here I am decades later, and I'm just like, well, you know what? I'm a gardener and I'm an enophile. I'm a champagne collector. I also dabble in fashion. I'm a homemaker and also a professional woman. I'm a mom and I'm a wife, but I'm also a girlfriend, right? And so I think it's just that multidimensionality and accepting that and really beginning to see the life less as a continuum, less as a linear continuum. I think Gen Z has done a much better job of doing that than previous generations for sure.
Absolutely. And I think speaking of Gen Z, all the generations to come, I really love what Move Africa is doing because it's I don't know if it's intentional, but you're showcasing the value chains that
Oh, absolutely.
and even in policy, because that's the interesting thing about Move Africa and Global Citizen. It's the what do you call it? The pop policy.
The pop policy, it's that pop policy mix. And so, how do we leverage pop culture, right, to drive policy and impact, right? And I think that that's one of the things that Global Citizen has been able to do exceedingly well. By using this approach, we're able to bring in the atypical, not the usual suspects. A lot of young people today that you go and you talk to, a lot of policy jargon, right? They're not gonna listen to you. I mean, they have the attention span of, and but, if you're able to speak to them through a lens which resonates, so that's where pop culture comes into play. It's the recognition that a lot of artists and creatives really care about what's happening in the world that they live in. They're making music, they're driving culture, and they really do care about the environment. They really do care about human rights. They really do care about access to healthcare and all of these different things that make our lives and the world that we live in a better place to live in.
I find it so interesting because I've been to a number of these concerts of Global Citizen now in various countries, and there's always you have the artist.
You've been in various countries. I like that. Say it again. Say it louder.
Uh, I've been to a number of them, and I'm always. First of all, I love that no matter who the main artist is, they always have the local artists.
Absolutely. It's so important.
Just credit raises like they embed them. I think with Usher, he brought Tina Savage and a number of other.
He brought Oxlade.
Oscars.
And then don't forget we were in Ghana that year, so we had Stone Boy, um, uh, who else did we have on there? But, there were a whole I think so for us, it's really been about creating a shared stage, right, for local, regional artists and global artists. And I think, we live in a world that is so connected. I was in Saudi Arabia and I was in the car. My driver said to me, "What music do you want to listen to?" I said, I want to listen to whatever you listen to." And he put on Ashake. And he put on Ashake, and I was like, "No, is this what you listen to?" And he's like, "Yeah, this is great. I love this genre." But
But yeah,
yeah, we live in such a connected world now, and something like Afrobeats, amapiano. Regardless of where you are in the world, you're gonna hear it. For us, it was such an opportunity to create this shared platform where you could have Kendrick Lamar and Zuchu in Rwanda share a stage. You had Kendrick Lamar with the local ballet troupe from Kigali share a stage, and it creates such beautiful moments of intersection, but also connection.
yeah, and I think what I always find interesting is the intersection of entertainment and policy, because no matter what, there's always a speech from either a head of
Mhm.
state or a representative of government talking about a policy or something that's really important that's going on at that time. Do you ever feel like that part gets lost in the entertainment, or people feel like, oh, you're pausing my concert, or they're really there for the concert, and you're like, well, since you're here, learn about this.
That is our whole premise. People who are global citizens and have been following the movement, follow the movement because of the ability to join these two seemingly divergent but intersecting sectors. we use those moments as an opportunity to educate, inform, and drive activism. It's also a moment of empowerment because we're able to provide the tools for our audience members that they can then leverage to drive the type of policy change that they want to see. Not everybody can go to a picket line, not everybody can sign a petition, not everybody can see their legislators or representatives, but everybody can go to the Global Citizen app and take an action, which ladders up and ultimately influences decision making at the highest levels. And I think that that's bold and empowering. I feel for most of our audience members, that is part of what makes the model so unique. And that's what is attractive for our audience.
So say global citizen as a movement has started. What is your favorite policy change that has come out of it that has been influenced by this movement?
You know, I'm super excited whenever Africa shows up for me. I mean, my heart is in Africa. It's no secret to anyone who knows me that if you were to scan my heart, you'd see a map of Africa on it. For me, in 2018, before I even joined the organization, Global Citizen was in South Africa in Johannesburg and did a huge festival and activations around that festival, which were able to drive significant policy shifts. So, one, access to menstrual hygiene and sanitation products, for example, we were able to unlock that for thousands and thousands of South African girls. We've been able to mobilize billions of dollars, which have gone to aid specific causes in healthcare around nutrition security and education. So, one of the things that I'm working on, which is super exciting, and I haven't really talked about much, but Global Citizen did announce a partnership with FIFA, and we announced that we were raising a $100 million education fund, which would provide support to communities across the globe. We envision about 150,000 children in K through 12 education. And so I've been developing the program, and we have some big announcements coming up in a couple of weeks at the festival here in New York. But, you know, being able to contribute to that sort of impact at that scale is one of the things that I'm really, really proud of.
It sounds very exciting to be on the pulse of culture, but also in the heartbeat of change, right? Like you're really at the center stage of change. You're seeing it come. I mean, that is a very interesting job.
It sounds like a dream job for a nerdy, quasi cool kid. At least that's what a lot of my younger friends say. They say, "Oh my goodness, this is so cool. Like you're nerdy 50% of the time, and then 50% of the time you're kind of cool." They didn't exactly say cool, but kind of cool.
They showed that beyond the concerts and the celebrities and the music, it's really a lot of strategizing, advocacy,
Yes.
meetings with
Oh,
policymakers.
yeah, that's the part that no one really talks about, like, folks usually talk about the shows, and the shows are great, but, you know, the shows are a culmination of sometimes several years of advocacy, strategizing, and outreach. The shows are also a moment of celebration, right? Because all of that advocacy ultimately leads to our ability to create impact, right? And so it's you can't have one without the other. I would agree certainly that the more visible often tends to be the show.
For sure. And just speaking about the show, what I love about it, at least from the ones I've been able to attend, is that all of the international artists always celebrate Africa. Like
Are you
there's
kidding me? Yes.
African. So do you have your hand in that? I'm like, this is all Liz. Like, do you call the fashion designers? I know Kendrick and John Legend both have the traditional culture wear, the Michelle
Yeah.
Nana.
Which is such a nice nod to our culture, right? And even Usher in Ghana
You know, like
was
beautiful Ghanaian outfit just for you because I'm like, I know Liz is queen of all fashion.
I love it. I love it. Thank you. I love the sleeves. That is so cool. Um, Yeah, I think it's really important. And this is something that all of the artists on the Global Citizen stage are very special. They tend to be very special people. They're people who are committed to Global Citizen's mission, which is to build a world that's more equitable, more just, and where extreme poverty is eliminated for everyone, right? So they're people who ascribe to and believe and want to support that mission through their artistry, right? And so sometimes what does that look like? That looks like coming into a market and doing a master class with other creatives in that market. Sometimes it comes into that market and working with other contributors to culture and amplifying and highlighting the work that they're doing, whether that's through fashion, food, performing arts, etc. We've been very fortunate in that we work with artists who are so committed to the mission that you'll see them come into market and wear traditional attire or attire that's designed by local designers.
Any stories for us there? I heard that one is they found the outfit like hours before the show. And
Oh, really? I mean, with this type of work, there's always stories. What I will say is that it takes a very dedicated team working in true collaborative partnership to make it all come together.
And then for you personally, because I know you're like the queen of African fashion, right? So what, but
Thank you. I'm honored.
the fashion in general, I know you have a passion for fashion. What does fashion mean to you besides style? Like how does it help you show up in the world?
Oh, it's the way I express myself. It's one of the many ways I express myself anyway. Um, for me, I don't take my fashion too seriously as much as folks might not be aware of it, but I just like to have fun. It's typically an expression of how I'm feeling. It's an expression of what causes I'd like to highlight. So I do wear a lot of African fashion, and I'll say it. I'm incredibly stylish and a very fashionable person. I've always loved fashion from when I was a young child reading uh, the New York Times style section to to okay, so I've always loved fashion. But and I wear all sorts of fashion. I wear designers from across the globe. For me, it's almost a political statement as well because it's an opportunity to showcase and highlight the excellence that is on the continent. You often find me wearing vintage Dior with Christy Brown or Lisa Falaio or Odio Mimone, and it's definitely a form of expression, but it's also political.
One of I think it was like a story, maybe an IG live, and you were talking about like a sales representative at one of the local stores in New York, or maybe not a local stores, probably like Barney's or something, but and how important it is to cultivate relationships.
Absolutely.
Because the person was giving you tips on, I think an upcoming sale, which you're just like me. I love a bargain.
Yeah, I think you're probably talking about a Marni there was a Marni skirt that I bought at basically 80% off. It was a skirt which at the time, I mean, what was that? I think it was like a seven or $8,000 skirt, which I wasn't gonna pay seven or $8,000 for. Anyway, I ended up getting it for pennies, literally, and it was attributable to a relationship that I cultivated with my sales associate. My sales associate called me and said, "Hey, it's been marked down, but I think there was a missing slip to the skirt, and so they worked out something, but anyway, I was able to take that skirt home, and I've had it now for, I think 10, 12 years or so, and I still wear it with such joy. I still maintain that relationship with that sales associate.
That's what I was gonna say. I think the story was about fashion, which I loved.
Yeah,
You're so open about, the cost, because some people would be like $8,000, 80%. I don't know, but it's still. It wasn't necessarily about the skirt or the store. It was about cultivating this relationship over years, and you've maintained. It's the quality of relationship. It's the quality of what you're buying. You're holding value to it, and you're really being loyal to that relationship. And I think it's probably a skill that that you use every day in your work life and career, because I can't imagine the work you do based off of a few emails. I'm sure it is years and years of relationship building that comes into play.
Yeah, cultivation and stewardship are definitely things that I do on a daily basis professionally, but also personally. Relationships are so important to me. I think that is deeply rooted in our culture as Africans, right? We are people who depend on our communities to thrive. And when we are successful, we never forget about our communities and where we came from. I think that's something that has stayed with me. I've been quite fortunate that I've been able to build relationships across the globe, across sectors, from, I have been in roles which have required me to be a fairly agile relationship manager. And so I think about one of the roles that I had where my colleagues would often say in jest, they'd say, Liz is the person who will know the governor, the governor's driver, and the birthday of the governor's driver's children, and be invited to the christening of the grandchild. Because I think it's so important to treat people with respect and to really see people as to see the humanity in everyone that you interact with, right? Whether that's a governor, the governor's assistant, or the governor's butler. Once you're able to see the humanity in people, it's easy to build relationships and it's easy to cultivate and steward those relationships, right? Into mutually beneficial relationships. So I think that's something that's really important. And yeah, I am known to walk through the market and know all of the women in their stalls, to speak with them, and to walk into the boardroom and know the details of the chairperson's grandchild, right? And so, yeah,
Teaching your kids, your cubs,
absolutely.
how to respect everybody, no matter their title, no matter where they come from in this world. I can only imagine. In terms of perception, right? Because you work in, Africa can be, it's all about perception. And I think that the narratives are changing, but I think Global Citizen is really at the forefront of that change and those narratives. Are there any artists that you've had to strong arm and twist their arms and really try to explain the benefit of touring in Africa? Or do they still say, where's that country? Is there internet? Is there, our perceptions changing?
I think part of the beauty of this movement is that it's a growing movement, the global citizen movement. It's a growing movement, and it's one that has really had traction across the continent. And I think part of that has been having people like me leading this work. Put me in Ghana, put me in Rwanda, put me in Mozambique.
Adopts you. You know you're Rwandan to us.
Right?
When I was
Exactly.
in Ghana, they were like, she's not Ghanaian, she's Canadian. I said, what?
When I'm in Francophone Africa, when I'm in Senegal, everyone says, "Ah, elle est Sénégalaise," and um, but I think that's also really important, right? And so with a lot of these sort of uh, international endeavors, it's really important to connect with the local communities that you're trying to serve, and it's important that they're represented in your leadership. It's important that they are the faces driving these engagements. It's the elephant in the room, and no one likes to talk about it, but it's not lost on me that a lot of the reception that we've had has been as a result of me being able to go sit in the homes of some of our stakeholders and partners and to be able to connect with them on a level that really resonated as fellow Africans, you know? And so there have been doors that have been opened for us as a result of those relationships. And some of these are relationships that I've been cultivating for decades.
Mhm.
I can't tell you enough stories about rooms that I've been in when people have said, hey, listen, this is really tough, but we're going to do this for you because we know that it's important that we succeed. If you succeed at this, we're all succeeding. And that's and I don't share that from a place of hubris in any way, but just to reinforce that I think it's important that there are more of us at the helm and in those rooms when we're talking about issues that concern our people.
Mhm. I
And
love
I'm unapologetic about that, by the way.
I love it. I think it's entire it's true. Whenever I'm on these different panels and speaking, especially to younger people, they would ask me, "What's one thing you learned? What's one advice you would give?" Infiltrate.
Infiltrate,
What I say.
absolutely. Listen,
Infiltrate because then we need everybody everywhere, right? And we need
yeah,
our points of view to come across in every room.
absolutely. And also the other thing too is once you infiltrate, don't try to go at it alone. Bring some people with you because there's also this notion of some of us want to be the only, we want to be the first and the only. I hate being the first. I hate being the only. There is strength in numbers. And so once you are able to infiltrate, bring more of us along. I think that's really important.
It's lonely at the top unless you bring your people.
Exactly.
It's a party,
Exactly.
then it's a party. Okay, so you've said that your biggest influence on your career is the woman you've always believed you were called to be. Progress, how do you reflect on that?
So every day for me is an opportunity to do better. It's an opportunity to give a bit more. It's an opportunity to be reflective. And it's an opportunity when necessary to course correct. If I'm being honest with myself, humility is a core value for me because I don't look at life as a linear progression, right? I always think that there is an opportunity around the corner, right? And so I just want to always position myself to be ready to seize that opportunity and to seize the moment. And I feel that the woman that I've been called to be, I'm a woman of faith. I feel that the person that God has called me to be is someone that I also have to be equally committed to working on a daily basis to become.
When opportunities come knocking, how do you decide what is best for you? Do you pray on it first? Do you speak with your community, with your support system, your husband, your family? Is it just timing? Not every opportunity is a good opportunity, or maybe it's not the right opportunity for all time. What's your strategy?
Yeah, so for me, I have a personal board of directors, which my husband is the chairman of that board. And then there are other men and women who have been incredibly influential in my life. And then, undergirding all of that is my deep faith, right? When an opportunity does come along, yes, of course, I'm praying about it. I'm also incredibly analytical and strategic. So typically, before something even comes my way, it's probably something I've thought about, and it's something that I've literally did a benefits analysis on.
Before you bring it to your advisors.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I typically don't present something to my advisors without having formed a perspective of my own, because I think it's important to understand for yourself what the value proposition is. Sometimes you may have to advocate for yourself, even with your board of directors, advisors. A lot of it for me is I'm a very introverted person, so my energy is from within.
I'm introverted. People are like, oh, hell no, you're not. And I'm like, trust me.
Yeah,
Right. It was one of my questions, but I'm not even going to ask it because I understand.
yeah. So I'm very introverted, and so my energy is really from within. And so by the time I'm bringing it to my external advisory group, it's obviously something that I've also done the work and spent time thinking about as well.
No, absolutely. So, in terms of the work you do, though, that is so extroverted to some
Yeah.
people, how do you take care of yourself and your soul and your energy?
Yeah. So I'm the biggest homebody ever,
You know,
which is surprising for a lot of people. But for me, being in my garden, planting and cultivating is that's me time. That's where I draw my energy from. And, reading and just having me time, alone time is really important.
Is cooking a form of therapy for you?
Oh, absolutely. It is both a love language. Hang on for just a second. I have a little visitor. I have a little visitor here. That one of the cubs is here. Okay. All right, Idar, that's beautiful. Can you take it downstairs and show it to Daddy, please? Thank you. Okay. Talk about talk about agility. My office is on the fourth floor of my home, and she just came up 4 floors to show me a picture,
Was it a picture she drew?
a picture of herself.
I can.
But yeah, so for me, cooking is therapeutic and it's also an articulation of my love. I think of it as a way that I can nurture my loved ones. And yeah, and it's also fun. Cooking is truly fun. I love food, really enjoy eating. I enjoy cooking. I enjoy experimenting. I enjoy growing food. And so, yeah, but it's also very relaxing and it's where I also draw my energy.
Do you grow food in your garden?
So half of my garden is floral and ornamental, and the other half is vegetables, herbs. I just harvested carrots 2 days ago,
Mhm.
which I made into a really lovely saute. Yeah.
I watch them every time I see your foods. I'm like, now I'm starving. Now what am I gonna do? And of course, I cannot let you go without talking about what goes the best with food, which is wine and champagne. I know you're a wine lover and a champagne collector, as you said. So where does that come from? Like, is it just an interest? What's your earliest memory that ties to this?
My earliest memory was being a young person. So it's funny, I didn't start drinking till I was in my 20s.
Mhm.
So I remember turning 21 and my college friends took me out for a drink. I think I had a strawberry daiquiri and I nursed that thing the whole night and just was like, ugh. And then later on, my friends would go out and they do shots and things, and I just never got into it, was never big on drinking in that way. But I would always, as a much younger person, would have like a little bit of wine with a nice lunch, dinner type thing. And so by the time I came of drinking age, it wasn't, I mean, drinking to the point of inebriation wasn't of interest to me. And then I started traveling, and I remember going to wine farms in Argentina, in Chile, in France, in Italy, in South Africa, in the Napa Valley, Sonoma, and just really enjoyed learning about what I was experiencing, what I was sipping. Because I love cooking so much, it just really became interested in pairing, the things that I was sipping and experiencing. From that, a collection just sort of casually grew.
Always in your DMs, like when are you creating your own? Because we learn a lot from watching you. Because it's true, it's always about the pairings, this shrimp with this whatever, and
Mhm.
this champagne for this kind of day. I'm like, wow, she knows so much about this. You need to do your own. So that's my pitch to you today.
Thank you, thank you. I know I've been getting a lot of that. Um, and yeah, it's not lost on me. But I think part of the reason why I share so much about my proclivity for champagne, especially and wine, is that there aren't a lot of people that look like you in this space. It can be sometimes so incredibly esoteric and intimidating. And I'm just here to democratize that. I'm just here to let people know that you don't need a special occasion to drink champagne. You don't have to spend $150 for a bottle of good champagne. You don't have to drink red wine exclusively with a steak.
Yeah.
Right? And so but it's really about figuring out your palate and figuring out what excites your palate, right? And then being open to experiment and discover all the things that excite you. That's really why I share. Some of the stuff that I drink is just so incredibly good. Like, how
What?
do you how do you gatekeep? How do you gatekeep? Because it's so good. What's my favorite? This is such a good question because it depends on the day, what else is going on in my life, and what I'm eating, what I'm sensing. Sometimes if I'm just, sipping casually, right? There are certain rosé champagnes that I really enjoy, and rosés, still rosés. But for me, still rosés are exclusively from Provence. I don't tend to like rosés from any other region, and I only like rosés that are made in the Provence style, so very dry and with some minerality. Lately, I've been drinking Philippona, which I'm really enjoying that maison. And I've had everything from their Blanc, which is 100% Chardonnay champagne, which I typically do not like because it just doesn't have the complexity of some of the other blends. But I've really enjoyed theirs, and so I've pretty much gone through their whole range and have just gotten a really nice order in this week of their zero dosage, zero sugar cuvee. So I'm really looking forward to
Oh,
this weekend.
this summer, I took a wine class. I'm a part of this business club here in Toronto. It was something that they had as an extracurricular activity. And
There.
honestly, there's so much to learn about wine, from the minerality to the acidity to the sugar to the different provinces, old age wine, new wine.
Grower wines versus the big houses. Yeah.
Exactly. Some of the Canadian wines, because
Yes.
kind of happened during this era of America versus Canada and import and
Yeah.
exports. I always thought that there were certain areas, which I think is still true, but there's certain areas that can grow better wine, and I didn't think Ontario was one of them, to be honest.
Well,
Um,
you guys have really nice ice wines and fortified wines in that area. I've been to some wine farms up in that area, by the way, and your whites aren't bad. Your white wines aren't bad.
The white wine, the orange wine. I mean, really, I
Yeah.
learned so much whenever I see a story from you, and that's why I be in your DMs because because I mean, really, the only from the top of my mind, maybe because they're celebrities, so they're at the forefront. Deborah Cox has a rosé wine,
Mhm,
and Issa Rae has a wine now, and maybe Taraji P Henson, I think.
mhm.
But and they're all in the wine family, in the champagne family. I'm sure that would be a huge undertaking, but I think it's definitely something you should consider because you're so well versed in it. I'm sure there are lots of investors that would love to get behind you and your community, including myself, right?
Thank
Um,
you. Thank you.
as a consumer.
Yes. Thank
Right?
you. Thank
As a
you. For sure.
yeah.
For
Um,
sure.
Liz, thank you so much for your time today. I have two, three more questions and I'll let you get back to your day. But this podcast is really about people building Africa and living fully while doing it because we're all multidimensional, as you said when we started this podcast. So I guess my question is, what does living fully mean and what does it look like?
It's first and foremost, it's living unapologetically. It's giving yourself permission, right? Because sometimes a lot of us are stuck needing permission, right? And needing permission and external validation from various sources. But it's about giving yourself permission to pursue those things that excite you. It's about permission to pursue those things that scare you, right? The things that you're nervous about. It's about being relentless in your pursuit of joy, right? And it's being unapologetic about that. It's also recognition that through the pursuit of those things, there could be success, there could be failure, but nonetheless, it's okay. It's okay to pursue those things that bring you joy.
Absolutely. And that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this podcast. This to me is definitely a creative project.
Mm,
I also get to meet in my very because I have my day job and then I have a few businesses on the side and I sit on boards, etc. I get to meet so many interesting people at
mm,
different levels that all have the development of Africa at the forefront or at the back of their minds, and they're all making their own contributions. And I just wanted to highlight that. I don't think we have enough spaces
yeah,
uh, for people to really highlight their work, but beyond the work, what makes the person want to be in that field?
yeah,
And who are their support systems? just to really bring that all to the forefront, like people fully, bring
Yeah.
everybody fully to the forefront and say, these are the people that are helping us move forward. And I'm so happy that you were able to join me today. So before I let you go, what would make a perfect day for Liz? Who, what, where, and why? What would you be doing?
I could be anywhere in the world, preferably in Africa somewhere. For me, often think of myself as a wandering joy bringer, right?
That's true.
And so bringing joy to the people I love, to my community, to my friends and family, agnostic of where I am in the world, if I'm able to do that. A perfect day is a day where I can sleep at night and know that I've done all that I could possibly do and that I left nothing on the table. It's a day where I did all that I had to do with utmost pride and was unapologetic. It's a day when I brought along others. And then, of course, it's a day that ends with an amazing cuvee. Uh, of course, in the most beautiful stemware.
Is stemware, glassware, that's important to you too?
Absolutely critical. So I'm a
Like the
collector.
glasses. Sorry, this is
Yeah.
completely left. But do you like the glasses that have no stem?
Depending on what I'm drinking and depending
I
on,
hate them. I'm like, this is not water. Do not downgrade my drink.
well,
You know?
for certain drinks, I mean, if you're drinking a wide bulb, a big red, having the warmth of your hand is not terrible. But yeah, I prefer stemware. I prefer hand-blown stemware, and I'm incredibly pedantic when it comes to stemware. We will have to do another session where I can walk you through my stemware. I'm very proud of my collection there as well. And
That's
I don't drink champagne from flutes, you know that.
good to know for whoever is going to get your Christmas gift coming up.
Yes,
Beware. Glassware, stemware is very important to Liz.
yes.
What is one thing you would want people watching this podcast to take away from this conversation today?
I think it's so important to just live and to just be. Like, wake up every day and be open to whatever opportunities that day is bringing, and just lives. Find your joy, whatever that is for you.
I think what I've
Yeah.
learned from you today, Liz, honestly, is that nothing is we already said it's not linear, but it's also not by it's not by chance, it's by choice, and you're choosing to politicize almost everything, right? In a good way. You're really bringing it to the attention of everyone, whether it's your fashion choices, highlighting your love for wine and champagne because we're not in certain spaces always. I think
Mhm.
everything is very intentional, which is what I love. And this is what this podcast is about. So thank you for all that
Thank
you do
you.
in this world. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. And I'm so again super excited that you brought me out of my shell. I can't even I can't even remember the last time I did an interview of this sort. This has been so much fun. So thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. And I will see you soon. Thank you. Bye.
All right. Take care. Be well.